How did this furry convention handle drama correctly? Motor City Furry Con, or MCFC, is a furry convention based in Southfield, Michigan, in the Detroit metro area. It was created in 2014 to replace Furry Connection North, a furry convention that also took place in the Detroit metro area between 2008 and 2013. The convention had received steady growth throughout its 8 years of operation, reaching its peak in 2019 with 1,600 attendees and donating $16,000 to charity. Before we can look into this statement put out by MCFC, we need to look at Rainforest and why it failed. Rainforest 2015 in particular was the last year of a convention that would fail due to poor security and bad behavior. In Vancouver 2016, convention staff member Trappa explained why Rainforest failed. They explained that the convention staff were quiet about Rainforest, saying that the hotel demanded them to send a letter that they were canceling the event. If they didn't, the hotel wasn't going to accept the $116,000 cancellation fee and sue them from that amount. They discussed about whether they would comply with the letter or get a lawyer, ultimately deciding not to fight it. There was division around the board, where the half said they needed to tell the attendees, while the other half thought they can get a new venue and didn't have to make it public. In a vote, they ultimately decided to tell the attendees the event was cancelled. There was disagreement over if the staff could tell what's in the letter, not knowing the hotel would have allowed it. The convention chair people both players saying what they could say. He explained that the staff knew there were problems at Rainforest, with the hotel saying there were more incidents this year than the year before. The general manager thought the new procedures were okay, and they believed someone hired from above wrote the letter. The convention staff weren't involved in the event, having to go to the convention chair to get anything done. This allowed the convention chair to have some freedom in what they wanted to do. The convention staff were unable to find a venue in the local area, which is strange as it almost felt like the hotels were talking to each other. Due to the contract they signed, the hotel wouldn't be able to talk to other hotels about their bad experience, and the general manager was unlikely to say anything bad about the event. They found out that the furry was sending letters out to all the local hotels, not announcing Rainforest. They tried to get a venue, but a furry contacted them and caused the venue to be concerned. Despite saying that all the security measures they were going to take and the venue seeming to be okay with it, the venue got contacted again and decided to back out of the contract. Due to getting a venue but no hotel, the convention staff decided to cancel the event. They then voted on whether to move to Spokane, and Trappa said no, as most of their audience is local, and moving there would result in losing half of their attendees. In the letter, the hotel listed a few bullet points of the problems they had with Rainforest, mainly talking about drugs. There were 2,000 nitrous oxide cartridges being left in the guest corridor, 2 drug overdoses that required ambulances, a drug arrest of somebody related to Rainforest, a Rainforest staff member using marijuana, and a hotel receiving a phone call and email by an attendee complaining about the rampant drug and alcohol assumption around the Rainforest staff. Along with this, the hotel got flooded, intentionally or not, a Rainforest volunteer reportedly having assaulted a female attendee, a guest room smoke detector was tampered with and discarded, and an elevator door cable was broken by an attendee trying to force the door open. I believe it was a party atmosphere, not the drugs that were the problem. He explains that while drugs are at events, it isn't good when it becomes excessive. An attendee asked a question about the drug use policy, and Trappa answered, saying that they made it clear drugs weren't allowed. Another attendee noted the staff weren't enforcing the rule and were reluctant to ban people who were using drugs. Trappa noted the security was poor for that year and didn't tell people not to use drugs, and apologized for it. He was also looking into de-escalation tactics, knowing that someone who refused to throw away a plastic cup complained that security had too much power. The hotel told convention security to snap people's glasses, and they didn't know at the time they could say no. Trappa recounted a situation where someone went outside to smoke, and security followed them, which caused them to get mad, and security tried to call for backup. Another attendee asked whether they knew the letters that were being sent and who it was. Trappa had a suspicion but didn't want to say anything to avoid legal issues. He also states that the diapers on people's cars weren't the ones normally used by baby furs. He suspects that the person who was selling the diaper and posting about it on social media was the one who called the hotel and sent the letters to the other venues. There was a question about Trappa's opinion about hiring outside security. He responds by saying he hasn't heard of good stories of this security with furries, but knowing that they need people to understand. Trappa indicated he wants people to have a good time. He also explained that outside security is expensive and they would have to explain their events, which for Rainforest wouldn't be feasible. He also talked about the policy change from badge reclamation to badge suspension. Before, when the badge was taken, the person was banned and had to go to the board for appeal. Now security can take badges and suspend the person, but he discussed tomorrow over whether they can have their badge back. This policy was used when the elevators were shut down and people jumped excessively, knowing that it wasn't only good for them, but the convention staff as they were under a lot of stress. Some brought up the point of using social media to highlight incidents so other people don't do it. Probably that no one would try to cause trouble on purpose, knowing they learned their lesson on communication. He also talked about the parties and how they talked with the party liaison to go over the problems they had and who the party liaison had problems with so the parties can be fun. They got rid of dance passes as they had people who were ravers bring in alcohol and wanted to get rid of people who weren't there for the furry convention. The rumor mill was brought up and how it resulted in rumors being spread throughout the convention. Papa explained that they'll always share the details to prevent rumors from happening. He goes over the picture of the baby bird and explains it was adult only panel and the person was talking about different fetishes. When the panel room ended, they were trying to get back to their room to get their pants when someone took a picture of them and posted it online, saying that every attendee was like that. The training for Vancouver involved getting a list of images and going with staff or whether it was appropriate and getting it on the same page. Overall, there were many problems with Rainforest that compounded over years, which resulted in being shut down. What did Motor City Furry Con do differently that allowed them to keep operating? The hotel notified the convention of several incidents that happened, and convention staff communicated over to the attendees very well. There were several points the convention brought up, one of the reports being vomit in public bathrooms and guest rooms, along with other unsanitary conditions. They understood that the conventions were a place to party, drink, and have fun, but knowing that when it gets to the point of throwing up in public spaces, that is unacceptable. Along with this, there have been reports of fecal matter being intentionally smeared in the bathroom and hotel walls. Along with this, adult diapers were being used at events. To be clear, there is nothing wrong with adult diapers or enjoying them. The problem is when they have waste and are being disposed inappropriately in public bathroom stalls and countertops along with trash cans. They even try to get suggestions to reduce the risk of infection of hotel staff. Some attendees were also showing public displays of affection, while others were sleeping outside hotel rooms. Unlike Rainforest 2015, the hotel staff communicated these concerns with convention staff. The way the convention staff addressed these concerns is good for everyone involved. They didn't point out fingers or accuse anyone, but gave understanding where it mattered and a harsh tone for other situations. It benefits the hotel, which has to deal with the situation and earn money from the event. It also benefits the convention staff because they have a place to host the events. The attendees also benefit because they can change their behavior instead of not having a convention. Well, what happened was unexpected and shouldn't have happened in the first place. Convention staff are optimistic about it and try to tell attendees that it'll be better next year if they do their part. If you want to see another furry convention controversy, check out what went wrong at Biggest Little Fur Con.